Hello, everybody. Good morning, good morning. I'm in Brockville, and I had a few shows here, and when I travel, I oftentimes sleep in my car because I don't like hotels, and they're also too expensive for me, and the cheap ones are full of bed bugs, so there's a lot of reasons not to go into a hotel. And when I actually, I want to say something else before that. When you are in places at night where usually nobody is, it's really interesting because you're gonna observe a lot of things that nobody ever sees. I really am fascinated, and I think it's a great way to research my topics or what is wrong, experience what is wrong with society, in situations where the people who have all the leverage and the lobby don't usually experience, situations that those people who can help themselves, who have resources, do not experience. So for them, it's like it doesn't exist. But the marginalized groups of the population know that a lot better. And that's what I want to talk about today on this live stream here. I had a very quiet night. I slept in my car in a parking lot in a park, public park. And I had to use the washroom before the park washrooms opened. So I decided to go to a gas station. And when I got up, literally got up, I noticed there was a police cruiser not directly behind me, at a respectful distance, so to speak. I kind of noticed that they were able to make out what was happening in my car. And while I was waking up, I concluded that they actually looked at me whether or not I was okay. And they did that in a way that they were not harassing me. So they were not driving up to my car. They were not knocking on my door. They were not looking inside of my car. The whole cruiser was at about 20 meters, maybe 10 meters from my car. And soon after I got up and went from the back to the driver's seat, the cruiser took off. Nobody ever talked to me. There's no interaction. Just when they saw that I was okay and I was awake, conscious for that matter, they took off. So I have to conclude they were checking on me. And apparently, if somebody is not okay in a car and they're being found that way, there's all kinds of procedure kicking in. You gotta call the fire truck, I believe, because they always arrive the first for emergencies. And that happened to me actually once when I slept on a quiet street in the city of Dallas, Texas. somebody called the somebody called the fire truck. But that's a measure of security and safety, you know? Because when you don't know what is wrong with people, then you gotta get professional help. I guess that's how it's handled these days. So in any case, none of that happened to me. And also, not only did the cops check on me without harassing me and without even ever interfering or exchanging with me, they also didn't give me a ticket. It was like an example of how policing should be, really. You know, you make sure people are okay, but when they're okay, you leave them alone. Don't intimidate them. And as the washrooms weren't open yet, I decided to make it to this gas station here. And I couldn't use the washroom. It was occupied when I entered, and I waited at least 5 minutes, probably more like 10, during which I had a conversation with the gas station attendant and also with one of the customers in there. And they both told me that oftentimes it's homeless people who sleep in the washrooms because they have nowhere else to go to sleep. That's the only few hours of sleep that they get every night. And if you've ever been sleep deprived, you know that is actually torture. To deprive somebody of sleep, it's very taxing. It's very, very hard on people. And that's people who are already in a really, really difficult situation. You know, at least they should have somewhere to sleep or go to the washroom. Now, this customer gentleman who was pouring himself a slushie, he told me that he was in this situation because a policeman once approached him undercover and asked him to sell him some weed. Okay? Now, just yesterday, I think I uploaded a video about how I didn't feel judged and how I felt empowered, you know, going in the park with a joint in my hand, and I didn't get any reactions, you know. I didn't get any judgment for that. And I just am shocked to see how these two situations are so different, you know. The gentleman ended up being convicted and now has a criminal record because he sold this undercover police officer a gram of hash, I believe. He told me he refused to sell this same police officer any kind of pills, you know, which is kind of a lot more scrutiny than the pharmaceutical industry is being held to. They don't test these pills on themselves. I don't think any of the CEO of those pharmaceutical companies take their own pills for a reason, people, because it's the devil's product. You don't want to take any pills, period, until you made them yourself and you tried them on yourself. Now that's the kind of scrutiny this gentleman applied, who now has a criminal record. And I said, well, you should ask for parole. It's legal. This can't be looked at that severely anymore. He said, basically, yes, I could do that. I had a hard time understanding him. People who are embarrassed about their circumstances are not exactly talking very loudly. But he said, if you make any mistakes in your application for parole, you can never file another one. And so he was procrastinating on that, or maybe he had filed one application and he had made a mistake, so he's no longer eligible for parole. How can that be? How can that be? I just don't understand. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody makes spelling mistakes. Not everybody has, resources to figure all that out. It shouldn't be taken for granted or assumed that any individual in this society has a computer or a phone at hand. And by the way, speaking of phone, he just also told me that he had some applications in the making for jobs, or he was actively trying to diminish his predicament and consolidate his living circumstances. And his phone got stolen yesterday for the same reason, okay? Because people sleep outside when they're homeless, and they sleep in the washrooms of gas stations because the library is closed at night. And I don't know if there's any shelter in Brockville, but it doesn't seem appropriate for the crisis of homelessness that we have right now. There's so many people who have absolutely no place to go at night. And what are they gonna do? How degrading is that? Most washrooms are closed. Public washrooms are closed overnight. The ones, I forgot the name of the park, but that is a downtown park towards the water here in Brockville, Ontario. I made a point in verifying when these washrooms are closing, and they're only open from 9 till 3 p.m. in the afternoon. I mean, that's when most people don't even get off of work. Like, why wouldn't you at least have them open until 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. like it is in St. Lawrence Park, I believe. They close at 8 and they close at 6 p.m. They open at 8 a.m. and close at 6 p.m. And I take it water fountains and park washrooms with the danger of water freezing in the pipes are completely closed in the wintertime. And then what happens? I mean, I just can't understand how this all works. How can you even get through a situation like that when you have no place to go? And now, here is another point that is really important. And I'm saying this to the administration, who completely fails on this responsibility, not only to care for the homeless people at night and any other time of the day, so they can at least keep their dignity, keep clean. The gentleman I talked to was just atrocious how dirty his hands were. And during this entire time, the washroom was locked because there was another person, obviously, in that washroom getting a few hours of sleep. The point really is why is there no public facilities? You got to understand what that does. When people depend on private enterprise to get their most human needs taken care of and addressed. In one of the richest countries of the world, that is a national disgrace. I don't understand why we cannot put some resources to building some public washrooms. There is technology available where you can ferment that waste and then make gas out of it. It's a really easy process. Needs to be pressurized, and you probably want to case it. But these constructions, little block units, are readily available on the market. All you got to do is get some budget for that and put them on some locations. You can make gas. You can even heat them with the gas. You can make warm water with the gas. It's all self-contained, and there's not going to be any trucking around any waste necessary if you use modern technology that ferments this waste. And for paper waste and stuff like that, trash, you could have a garbage bin that then would be emptied by the network of trash collection that we already have in place. It's really not only about people who are in a homeless situation. It is also to be more inclusive for people to participate in the market. If there is no washrooms, people have to worry where to go in case it hits them, or they have a coffee and then they need to go to the washroom. I mean, you exclude women, you exclude children, you exclude the elderly, you exclude anybody a little bit compromised in their health from that market. They all don't go out because only they have the washroom at home, and they can't really move around without nearby access to those facilities. And all these people don't shop. We have an able young white male market now. Why is that? Why don't we have more access to washrooms? And why is it that in a place where it's now legal and franchise corporations across country make gazillions of money, the state of Canada makes gazillions of money with the taxes, having moved to taxing the flower. That now is all legal, and people like myself don't even get a judgment anymore walking in a park with joint in my hand. Meanwhile, others who just wanted to help out and fell on an undercover cop enticing them, moving them, making them do the crime. That was only a crime at that point in time, and today it would be regulated. How is that possible? That is two sets of justice for the exact same thing, people. That is wrong. That is totally upside down. You can't do that. We have to drop all convictions, all criminal records related to selling weed. Come on. That is the natural way of medicating. That represents a gross discrimination of the natural way of living, the original way of life here in North America, when people medicated with flowers only, flowers and mushrooms and roots. That is the original medication, people, y'all. We got to get rid of that judgment. We got to get rid of that discrimination. We got to drop all these senseless convictions, absolutely paralyzing our court system. and paralyzing the cops. I don't think they want to be walking around undercover like spies and entice their populace to commit crimes. What a job is that? Nobody likes to do that. Are you crazy? They'd really have something else to do today, you know? I suggest jail the genocidal, murderous, lying, thieving, conniving politicians that are still in office after this humongous fraud that they put us through. And I know a lot of police officers who want to arrest them. Okay? It's not that they don't want to arrest them. But if you're busy doing petty tasks, having your focus on the common man instead of the high-rolling criminal, then that's what you get, you know? And that's not right. And it is an expression on how two-tiered our justice system is. Justice has become a function of what is your budget, who you are, when really it says in the Bill of Rights, justice is being served with no regard for the person. It is the same justice for everybody. But we have been straying a far cry from that. And that is shameful. That is shameful for a country like Canada. And you can't help seeing that. And that's why I think it's a really good experience. It's not easy, but it's a really good experience to sleep in your car in places where you wouldn't sleep usually, and then see what is happening in those places at night. And get to know your country. Anyways, I just wanted to share this with you. But it's a bit overwhelming sometimes. I, by the way, just saw the same police cruiser again, I believe. Just went by here on Pearl Street. And yeah, that's all I have to say. You know, that was an example of policing. You know, you don't harass people, you don't talk to them, but you make sure they're okay. Why can't we police everything like that, you know? Why can't we help people more? Why can't we protect people more instead of harassing, ostracizing, and discriminating against them for situations that they have very little doing about, you know? Anyways, thanks for tuning in. Nobody? Is that YouTube throttling me again? Thanks, YouTube, for shadow banning me. It's time for that to stop too, you know? It's really criminal. It's really not allowed. You can't manipulate content if you operate a network. That's a conflict of interest. And it used to be a total no-go. You know, the providers of infrastructure cannot manipulate content in that same infrastructure. That used to be a fundamental column upon which all our reporting and, you know, media illustrations used to rest. I don't understand how this is our our daily practice now, YouTube. You explain it to me, but again, you know, we want justice. No justice, no peace. Why would we allow to have our justice systems clogged up with petty crime that committed in the same way today is not a crime? Not a crime. But so many aspects and areas of society and societal activity and ways to make a living are now barred to this gentleman I was talking about earlier because he's got a criminal record and he somehow can't apply for parole. Why? Like, how is that possible? How can that be? That's ridiculous. Let's drop those charges. Let's erase those records. That is paralyzing our society. That is overwhelming our justice apparatus. That is tying our patrol officers to tasks that they shouldn't be doing. There is no need for them to do them. It doesn't make society better. And they really have other things to do. And it's degrading to police state other people like that. It's wrong. It's not worthy for a free North American 21st century society. And I want you all to document that. Raise your voice about this. We can do better than that. We can all do a lot better than that. But we're not going to get it moving with everybody just looking the other way. We have to be vocal about that. So get to the cameras. And try to talk to people. And if they don't want to say anything on camera, then you talk to them and listen to them. And then you'd have to just recount it like I did today. That is a little bit more boring, but I also don't want to put these people on the spot, and many are, of course, embarrassed about their situation. And then there's, of course, also the duty of responsible media to not sensationalize people who are destitute. That is not allowed in old school media, you know? That's all I had to say. I believe I said what belonged together in this live stream. Thank you very much for watching. If you watch this now, I appreciate it, and leave me some commentary. Love you all very much. Freedom, always.